yeah, as some of you may know, I have a rare illness called IIH. This means that I've had to have a few lumbar punctures. My first lumbar puncture, I was 29, and I don't like injections, to the point where I hate going to the dentist because of the injections. Luckily, the last time I went to the dentist, I had a new dentist, and she taught me a trick to keep my nerve when having the injections in my mouth, and that was to wiggle my toes. And basically what she was saying was, say in my head, wiggle toes, wiggle toes, wiggle toes. And as I'm saying that, I wiggle my toes. Well, of course, obviously, if I wiggled my hands around, it'd be a bit dangerous at the dentist, but obviously in a dentist chair, wiggling your toes is fine. Now, I used this method for my first lumbar puncture, and it worked. It was very strange, and I'm sure the person doing the lumbar puncture, the doctor, was a bit confused, because I was laying there on my side going, wiggle toes, wiggle toes. I too was petrified. What's prompted me to make this video is a lady called Bonnie is going for her first LP. Now, some people will tell you it's murder. Some people will tell you the worst bit is, I've heard people tell me that the worst bit is the anaesthetic, the local anaesthetic. Some people say it's the strange sensations. Some people say it's the laying down. From my experience now, the worst part is the laying flat, for me personally, because as I lay flat, my head feels like it's filling with water more and more and more, and I just feel the pressure on my brain. But on the other hand, I know the relief, and this is definitely anybody who does have high pressure. The sensation of the relief is all worth it. And when I went for my last lumbar puncture, I just kept telling myself, you're going to feel better, you will feel better, you will feel better, come as soon as you're in. And I had a very, very good neurologist. Unfortunately, he's no longer practicing at my hospital, but he was fantastic. The best thing to do is to be able to be open and be able to talk to the neurologist. And when I say that, if you get a funny tingling down one of your legs, tell him left leg. If you get it down your right leg, right leg. The reason being is because this helps the neurologist, because even though they know what they're doing, obviously it helps them to guide it into exactly the right spot. I'm sure my neurologist was annoyed to hell with me, because I would be like, is it in, is it in, is it in, is it in? That was quite annoying. On my last lumbar puncture, I must admit I was highly stressed, and it was one of my most painful ones. Well, it was my most painful one, and I actually shot into the 40s with my pressure. It settled at 38, I think it was, but I actually went into the 40s, and my neurologist was quite shocked how high it was going, because it just kept going up and up and up. But they managed to, well, my partner at the time managed to calm me down, and that actually brought it so that it came down a bit, because I was highly stressed. I was really, really ill, and that is the key. Don't stress. They say relax. Imagine you're on holiday. You're like, oh my god, this isn't the most relaxing thing to do. And it's not. But it is true when they say the best thing you can do is just breathe normally. Now, the injections, yeah, they're not nice, but it's a sharp scratch. over in minutes. I mean, I'll just run through what an LP is like, or what I've experienced. You go in there, you normally go through the risks, go through the problems. Once, it's really boring stuff, but they might get you to sign paperwork. My neurologist, I was quite lucky, he never did. Which I suppose isn't a good thing, but hey. The first thing he'd do is he would pull my top right up, and I would go in, well, I don't feel the cold, so I'd go in a loose t-shirt like this and sort of jogging bottoms, or something that you know you can pull quite far down so that you can expose the nice part. If you're a big girl like me, you want the really wide chunky part of your hips and your back. What they will do, and this I think is one of the most painful parts, is they will measure you. He might measure you, or she might measure you sitting up first and then laying down, or they might lay you down and sit you up. It depends. I've had some times where after he got to know my body, I mean, even though I only had sort of 3-4 lumbar punctures, my neurologist knew my body, and he was like, yeah. And the way I can describe it, and this is the bit I don't like, is basically they dig their thumb in to check where your vertebrae are and where you're going and where they're going. That is the bit that just makes me go, oh, because they're really pushing, because I'm a big girl, there's a lot of chubbiness there, so they've really got to push to feel the bones, and then also to find the top of the hip bones, so they go round, so that they go, because what it is they go into the bottom part of the spine, because there's not, your spinal column is in the top half, and obviously if they hit your spinal column, it's not good. Not that I'm medical trained, I don't know, but I know that the lower down they go, the better. But they can't go too low, or else they don't get where they can't get in. It's confusing. I know that it's from the top of your hips round to the middle of your back. Now I can feel my back, and I know exactly where they shove the needle in, just because I know the feel of it, and I can feel. I just sort of go, that's the one, because I just know the feeling of when they're pushing on your back. That to me is the worst part. They then lay you down. They might push and poke you a bit more to measure you. They might do a marker on your back as well. I mean, I don't ever remember having a marker, but I'm sure they must do a dot. I can't remember. Then sometimes they put like a piece of paper over you, and mine always fell off because I was too busy wiggling my toes, because that's how I deal with things when I'm stressed. I sit in my little bubble going wiggle toes, wiggle toes, wiggle toes, wiggle toes, and as every time I'm wiggling, it's just like that with my toes. Might work for you, might not, I don't know. It's just my method. I was taught it by my dentist, because I don't like dentists. Anyway, so they'll basically put really cold stuff on your back, which is basically sterilising stuff. Give you a nice wash. That's when they'll then put the injections in. And to be honest, for this next part, I'm not 100% sure on, and I'm quite happy I'm not 100% sure. But I'll just describe how it feels. And my neurologist said it's just going to feel like I'm pushing hard on your back. And it's funny because it's a bit like when you're having a tooth pulled. You get that kind of pushing sensation on your gum, and they push up. It's about as bad as that. I mean, I don't know which I'd sooner have, having a tooth out or a lumbar puncture. I think I'd probably go for a lumbar puncture, actually. Yeah, no, I'd go for a lumbar puncture, because you get more benefit from that. Then once they're in, they'll then basically put on these funky little tubes things, and they'll measure your pressure. I advise you tell them, what's the pressure, bug them, what have I settled at? Reason being is because if you know your pressure, you kind of know where you're at. You also want to know what they're going to drop it to. So if you're in the 30s, you want to know, are they dropping it to the low teens or the high teens? This is where everybody's body is different, because sometimes if they drop you too low, you get a low pressure headache. But you might think, oh my god, I'm going to get something from... If you have a low pressure headache, it's just a pain in the butt. That's all it is. Go home, drink Red Bull, drink caffeine, lay down, and go to sleep. Best and only thing you can do. And for having IIH, well, diagnosed for over a year now, I can say that I'd like a low pressure headache. I've had one low pressure headache. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was dying. And in actual fact, after 2 or 3 days, I was fine. You just have to realise that it can take a while for your body to adjust, and you've just got to be patient and don't push your body. I mean, after my first lumbar puncture and they drained the fluid off or down, I didn't want to lay down. You have to lay down for an hour. I didn't want to. I could see. My headache had just felt like it'd just been drained away. I could think for the first time in years. And I did. I wanted to get up. I was like, let me out. It's the most amazing feeling. If your pressure is high and you don't get a low pressure headache, you just go back to being normal. You will just be like, oh my god. I've had it where I've had it fail, and when it fails, it's disappointing. It really is, because you're just so expectant, you want to get it in. They do fail, unless you're having it done under X-ray. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, it's just one of those things. I would suggest having someone who is very calm with you. I took my mum once. I love my mum. My mum is awesome. But I will never, ever take her to a lumbar puncture again. It failed 4 times that day. And in the end we gave up. Now, I'm not blaming my mum. I'm not blaming her. I'm just saying that when I took my mum, it failed epically. Yeah, every other time it's either been first or second time and we've been in. I'm not saying this to scare anyone, but 9 times they've tried to get in, 3 have been successful, but like I said, 4 was with this one woman. So take that as you want to. So really, it's not too bad. Like I said, the neurologist that I trusted, he was normally first, maybe second time in. Normally first. First time every time. He was amazing. Really, 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 really was. So basically my biggest tips is take someone that chills you out. If you've got music that chills you out, take that. If you've got, sounds silly, you might not feel like you want to do it, but if you've got a teddy, or you've got a favourite perfume, or your partner wears a lovely perfume that you like, put it on the teddy, or something to cuddle, to sniff, to take away from the fact that what's actually going on around you, because that's the key to it. The key is to ignore what is going on. It's about wiggling. Well, for me it was wiggle toes or wiggle fingers, but you don't want to move too much. You want to stay as still as possible, really, just because it's easier and it causes less complications, less confusion. And definitely be communicating with your neurologist. If you feel little, I mean, I call them shooters, they're like little pins and needles going down your legs. If you feel them, tell your neurologist. The reason being is it helps, it guides them in. My neurologist always said that's a good sign, because it knows that it means that I'm near where I want to be. I just used to go, yeah. I used to go, left leg. And he used to go, brilliant. Means we're going to be there in a second. Come on. You can do it. Okay. We in. And as soon as he said we're in, that'd be it. I'd be like, oh. Because once it's in your back, you can't actually feel anything going in your back. You can just feel the pushing, and it is as bad as when he pushes when he hasn't got a needle or anything in his hand. If they do it anything like I've had it done, that's that. If you've ever had an epidural, I believe it's the same. I've not had one, so I can't compare. But I think the biggest thing is just don't tense up, and if you can, or if you have time, practice trying to get your head next to your knees. The reason I say this is because that's the position you have to be in. You have to be nice, and if that's your back, you have to be quite curved. They like to have, and basically me being a bigger woman, it's pretty hard to get my knees up to my chest at the best of times, let alone when I'm laying on my side, trying, sort of sitting on the very, like laying on the very edge of a table, thinking, I'm gonna fall off. Excuse me. For anyone, or Bonnie, who's gonna probably watch this, because that's who I'm making it for, I hope you're not bored by now, because I would be. I might try and do you a shorter one. But yeah, it's, do you know what, shall I do you a short one? I'm going to make another one now, but it'll be the short version, because I've waffled.